Welcome to Turning Pages, the podcast where we explore the power of self-healing, the wisdom in books, and the strength of a positive mindset. I'm your host, Mel, and each week I have the pleasure of interviewing authors, coaches, and everyday people who inspire and encourage us to live our best lives. Together, we'll dive into insightful conversations that help you turn the pages into the next chapter of life. Whether you're on a journey of personal growth or simply looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. Let's turn the pages together.
There's absolutely nothing you wouldn't do relentlessly, endlessly.
For those of us who don't know, what is Krav Maga?
Right. So Krav Maga, it's a form of self-defense. It has been created for civilians from a fighting style that is used in Israel in the military. Right. It was founded post-World War II when Emil Lichtenfeld, he fled Nazi Germany to go into, at the time, Palestine. While he was there, in his history, he was both a boxer and a wrestler. So he implemented his fighting techniques, refined it for military use, so to speak. And it was something that was unique, I should say, or proprietary at the point in time, if that's the correct word, to the Israeli military. But over time, they decided to also package it out for civilians. The head of our organization, Krav Maga Global, Eyal Yanilov, he was the guy who was actually responsible for the civilian curriculum creation, and from there, I think that was in the 80s. Don't quote me on the dates, but yeah, so he was responsible for that creation, and over time, it was from Israel. It went to other countries, North America, all over the world. Many countries do practice Krav Maga.
And how long have you been practicing it?
12 years.
And what level are you at again?
So in our system, we have 5 practitioner levels, 5 graduate levels, 5 expert levels, and 3 master levels. I am now graduate level 4.
Can Krav Maga help us in everyday life?
Yes, it can. The number one, well, there's a large number of techniques in the Krav. We tend to group them into families, so it's easy to learn. A lot of the movements are, how to say, natural, right? There's no fancy technique or a lot of complicated movements in it. You'll also find a lot of the techniques, which is when I say we have it in families. The body movements, movement patterns, they repeat, right? So you may be practicing one thing, and let's say the body action might be like that, but something else also has that body action, and it comes like you're practicing more than one thing at the same time, if that makes any sense. So the muscle memory and the repetition is reinforced.
Right, so one of the reasons we came together today was because the crime rate in Trinidad and
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about safety and us being aware with the crime rate that's going on? What can we do to protect ourselves?
As it stands right now in Trinidad and Tobago, the reality is crime is committed with firearms, right? There are things in the Krav Maga curriculum to deal with firearms, right? These techniques are higher, but at the same time, it must be noted that when one decides to execute a defense for a firearm, it must already be a life or death situation. Meaning that this person is already going to harm me physically with this firearm or otherwise, whether I comply or not. In the situation where you're going to be harmed or killed anyway, then there's no harm in going for firearm defenses. There are a lot of the crimes to deal with firearms here, where it's actually outright, they actually come to kill someone, that is nuanced, and it doesn't typically apply to the average citizen. In other words, it's an assassination. There's no defense for an assassination, right? Unless, of course, well, you see it early and you are equipped to deal with it, right? But for the average civilian, chances are when you're going to encounter somebody wanting your wallet, your purse, your cell phone, firearms are involved, give it to them. That is a form of self-defense. The concept of self-defense is going back home with no harm done to you, right? Reality is that your life is worth more than the material stuff. So if it's really just material stuff, fine. If you get the feeling that, okay, this person wants my stuff, yes, but they decided to say, okay, stick the firearm in your waist, and they say, okay, get in this car or let's go over there. Chances are they want to do something to you that they can't do to you where you are now. So you might as well make a stand, right? With that being said, of course there other stuff besides firearms, knives, hand-to-hand combat, because a sizable male may just come up to a female and decide, well, I can overpower her for her belongings or otherwise. Of course, there are techniques to deal with that, but situational awareness is the most important thing.
It's like leaving your house, being aware of your surroundings.
Yes, being aware of your surroundings all the time. This is not just for Trinidad and Tobago, because yes, we do have certain things happening here, but all around the world, situational awareness is paramount. Once we're not locked up tight in our houses, once we leave the house, we should always be scanning the environment, looking at vehicles, see who's in the vehicle. Is this a license plate that you've never seen this car on the street before? When I see a lot of people, they go to shop wherever they like to shop, and when they leave the shop, head into their vehicle, they have the groceries or whatever they bought in one hand, and the phone in the other hand, and they walk into the vehicle, and all of a sudden somebody else comes out of another vehicle, jack them up, and the vehicle is gone, right? If they were paying attention and they, were looking around, when they went to open the vehicle and they saw a door open and a guy with a mask coming on, they could run, right? Not being in the situation is the most important thing. Also, let's assume that you're the best fighter in the world. You can deal with anything, and somebody does you something, and boom, they die in the situation. Now you have to face manslaughter charges and go through court. It's not the best thing. So many things I could think about my time to do it than to be in and out of a courthouse or in remand yard until bail or whatever the case is. Right? And of course, well, if everything goes wrong, you die, right? Or you get severely injured, can't walk again because certain things in your body have been destroyed. So avoidance is key, right?
Besides avoidance, what are things that we can do, like physically do, to just scan our surroundings? Like, should we be watching every single mirror in the car before coming out? So for me, well, I'm single, female. I don't particularly go places by myself because of the fear of the crime that's going on.
Right.
But so I don't do things like wearing my headphones while I'm walking to my car.
That's a good one. I see a lot of people exercising with that in the ears and.
Yeah, well, I stopped doing that because someone buffed me on it. So I don't do that. Like I don't, so I can hear obviously and just be
Yeah.
a little bit more aware of my surroundings. But what are like things that we're not where, because most of us are in a hurry, we're in a rush to get to work, get to the gym, wherever we have to go. What are things that we can sort of do to sort of protect ourselves?
Right. It's not so much
Doing,
yeah,
just
like
being
like have,
aware.
yeah, just being aware. It's not so much of having a checklist. Like
Yeah.
it's just about being present in your surroundings. If you know your neighbor has a girlfriend or boyfriend who spends certain days over and they have a particular car, it parks up there. You come, you see it. You know that belongs to it. But you come and you see a strange car parked in front of your house and the engine is running. Something to be aware of, right? So basically, look for things that don't conform to the norm. Anything that sticks on, of course, to understand what doesn't conform to the norm, you have to be observant to start with. Because if you don't know, I mean, I'm not saying to go and mind people business to a certain extent or to end.
Well, I think most
but, you
people
know,
have a pattern
Yeah.
if you pay attention.
Yeah.
You know, because I wasn't even aware that my neighbor was watching. Well, was aware of my when I go to work. So
Yeah.
one day I happened to fall sick, and he was like, "Oh, you took a vacation day." I'm like, well, "How do you know my car's here?" You know. So I think most people have a pattern
Yeah.
when they leave home, when they get home, which is also easy a target to mark someone.
Yeah.
There was something. What about besides our common areas like work and home? What about when we go out? So that's one of my fears. Is like if I go out, I tend to try to be home before 6.
Unfortunately, you know that's a thinking of the 90s when balance only used to come at night. Now
Right.
time is irrelevant, right?
Right.
Whether it's day or night. Sometimes even the later hours might throw them off because they might have been looking at your patterns and they know you come home at 4, but tomorrow you come home at 8, and it's like, oh, we missed her, right? So it's good to throw them off, so to speak. And that's another tip, you know, try to be unpredictable as best as you could be. I mean, yes, easier said than done because you know most people will get 9 to 5s or 8 to 4s or whatever, and you know we tend to be, you know, most people work with some sort of structure, but you know, as best as you can, you know, mix it up a bit. Also, very important, listen to your gut. You know, I remember a lady telling me once an incident where um, they were robbed of their vehicle and they saw people coming towards them and she didn't want to profile them. You know,
Okay.
you know,
Right.
but you know, something was telling her that you know these
Mhm.
people not looking to, you know, wholesome.
Right. Yeah.
And she saw them coming to her, and you know, well, she didn't flee. Um, so yeah, they came and you know the vehicle was stolen or whatever the case was. But that's another thing. Approaching vehicles, it's so a lot of the vulnerable times are points of access and egress, right? I mean, it's easy, right? I mean, why kick down your door when you can open it from me, right? Um, why stick? Why break into your car to steal it when you could come to it, open the key from here, point a firearm at you, tell it get out? It's easy, right? So have your keys ready, right? Again, look to see who's parked next to you, opposite you. Look into the vehicles as you're leaving the store. Um, See if the vehicles are running. Who's in the vehicle, if you can see, because sometimes they have the tent. Is it a family? Is it 4 men? Is it a couple? All these things will give you an idea as to which car may be more of a risk, right? Of course, a car with a lady with a teenage boy and some other lady holding a baby in the back seat, of course, well, okay, they're not a threat to you, right? Or at least very unlikely.
Mhm.
But a car with 4 guys with, I don't know, joints or whatever, and it's well, obviously if they have bandanas or masks on,
Right.
you know, of course that might be okay, suspect. You need to be looking at it, maybe be prepared to run, go back into the store, alert security, you know.
Would you recommend self-defense classes?
Of course. So where the self-defense aspect comes in is, let's say all this fail, or even if you did everything correct, somebody comes to harm you. That I'm emphasizing harm you.
Without a firearm?
Yeah, without a firearm, with the firearm, at least even if you do encounter the firearm, but you have understanding of how they work, it's not gonna be the boogeyman anymore. You know, just disclaimer: we don't work with live firearms in class, right? I mean, unless we're doing something with legal authorization, or you know, but for the average civilian class, no, those won't be present, right? Yeah. So yeah, sometimes understanding how the first step is to understand how vulnerable you could be and what are the threats and the ramifications of it. From that understanding and having faced it, of course, within the important part, pressure testing it. That is the most important thing.
What do you mean by pressure testing?
Performing techniques under stress.
Okay.
Right? So I'll get into that a bit later on, but whether it's Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, karate, if the technique is not done under some form of simulated stress, I don't care how good you are at it when you're practicing it in class, or it's not gonna work for you out there.
So when you say that, do you mean so that you could be mentally conditioned to do it regardless?
Yeah,
Because that's one of the reasons why I haven't taken a self-defense class, because I feel like if I do the stuff, I learn the techniques, being in a situation like that, I think I might just freeze.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just like, well, I don't think mentally I'm conditioned to, I might learn, 5 techniques or something that you may teach me, but being in that situation, then I feel like I'm the type of person that just might lose all sight of that and just literally freeze up.
Yeah, and that's a very common thing that could happen, because when you're doing, let's say, the knife defense, person does the knife defense, the attack, you do the defense, and they just do one attack. I mean, you're practicing it. But now we're doing it where they're doing multiple stabs. You might have more than one person attacking you. Might have to start the technique with your eyes closed. Whatever additional stress we add to it, and the attacker, you must go from the point of the attacker being compliant, so you can get the technical aspects of it done. Then you have a resistant attacker. He's not, playing along, so to speak. He's coming at you, almost full force, of course within reason. And then you can say, oh, okay, I did this, okay, instead of I probably have a cut here if I was actually stabbed, I may have a wound here, but it's survivable. I always tell your students, anytime you decide to face a knife, prepare to get cut. Right? You're not gonna go out there, superhero, and so all these things are part of it. So understanding like where you are now, right? And then even if it's a situation, right, because you mentioned freezing up, you think, okay, just freezing and might be good, because the attacker might be like, oh, okay, good, she froze. If the route is to comply, let's say they want my wallet, and let's say the attackers are very aggressive, right? And I freeze, pass me your wallet, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I even want to reach my wallet. You say, you don't listen to me, and bam, bullet. It could happen. And I was told, I don't know the person personally, but I was told of somebody, the bandit said, hand over your car keys, and they threw the keys to the bandit, and he took that as a disrespect. And so, these things can happen. So sometimes it's just the awareness of the situation, you'll be more calm in it, and you won't freeze it, even if it's just a So, sir, I don't want any trouble. Wallet,
Yeah.
you know. Um, then from being there, being familiar with having to be on the ground, a lot of fights end up on the ground. Um, Again, pressure testing it. I say whether it's Krav Maga, BJJ, very very good for being on the ground, you know, competitive, whatever. And but this is where Krav Maga is a bit different when it actually comes to the application of technique, right? Let's say the ground situation, right? Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, right? I love grappling. I always say grappling is like the chess of fighting. It's you have to use your brain a bit more than the striking. For me personally, right? Um, so the tactic is just different. In a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition, submission, grappling, wrestling, whatever the case is, my objective is to put this person in a armbar, kimura, whatever it is, some form of lock, carotid choke, rear naked choke, whatever, and they tap out, and I win. Right? In order for me to do that with the grappling, I need to stay on the ground. Krav Maga, I mean, it's the same techniques we would use on the ground, you know, the same bridging, shrimping, etc., etc. But our focus is not to stay there, right? I don't want to be on the ground. Anybody who, you know, I know guys who, you know, wrestle, you know, the amateur level and whatever. They know that that's not where you want to be in a real life situation. You need to get up off the ground, right? Why? I mean, yes, I may be more talented than you, and I can put you in whatever lock and break your arm. But let's be real, out there, if you're fighting with one guy and he has friends and you're on the ground, and his friends come and they're wearing some nice boots, they're gonna stomp your skull in. Right? So you don't want to be there, right? You need to use the same techniques, but to get yourself to the standing position where you can disengage the situation or finish if need be, right? Need be meaning that, okay, there was a weapon in place. And that's the other thing. Sometimes you think, okay, I'm on the ground, I'm beating this guy, and this guy has a knife on him, and he's not taking that. You know, so yeah, even with the stand-up aspect of it, the striking is the same. It's the same roundhouse kicks, it's the same jab, cross, uppercut, whatever you have. But the tactics, where I'm going is different, right? We encourage the student, the practitioner, to attack the areas. So go find the list of all the things not to do in professional fighting. No eye gouging, no strikes to the groin, don't strike the trachea, the knee joints. I mean, they would kick on the inside of the muscles, but to say breaking a knee with a kick, no. But small joint manipulation, biting, screaming in someone's ear, all these things are the go-to targets, because my goal is not to score points. It's not necessarily to go for a knockout. I mean, knockout would be great, but the tactic is to destroy the structure, right? I may hit somebody in the chin, they may eat the punches, who knows, they may drop straight to the ground, who knows. But if I kick your knee out, you can't, and I need to escape, you can't chase me, right? If I punch you in the trachea, you can't breathe, right? Yeah, so if I can destroy the structure, you know, sometimes psychologically, I mean, if I poke you in the eye, you know, I've seen, you know, watching UFC and stuff, and, you know, a guy gets poked in the eye by accident, and it's, you know, they have to stop the fight, and they have to, you know, make sure he's okay to continue. You know, just that freeze moment, you know, when they're like this, I'm gone.
Right, buys you time.
Buys you time, right? I'm gone. What else? Psychological. I mean, when you start ripping skin off of somebody with your teeth, it's shocking to be bitten. You know, most people will react to that. Not It's like the Maori, the hacker, they used to open their eyes big and stick the tongue out.
Right.
Because the intimidation factor, because they were gonna fight you, kill you, and then eat you after. So
Right.
nobody wants to get eaten.
Right.
You know, it's very primal. You know, that's why the gazelles run from the lions. They want to get eaten. You know, so these tactics this is what makes the Krav a bit different to the sport thing.
Okay.
Right.
Or the other self-defense that's offered out there.
Yeah. The tactics behind it. You know, I mean, yes. Sometimes, I mean, you might be doing whatever competitive martial art you might be into. Yes, sometimes they will talk about because for those who know about BJJ, there's BJJ for competition and there's BJJ for self-defense. You know, it's slightly different. And let's use that as an example. But yeah, the mindset, the tactics, and what you do, what you repeat is what you will end up doing out there.
So how do you deal with someone who has gone through a robbery or home invasion or an attack, personal attack, and how do you go about treating that person as opposed to someone like me who says, okay, I'm just coming in to help, you know, be hyper aware and get some skills? How do you deal with somebody who's been through a home invasion, robbery, and then now they're coming in with a bit of nervousness or scared, and then you teaching them these things? Does that not, you know, trigger things for them? Like, how do you handle those individuals coming to you?
It may, and yeah, there are times. I mean, some people, yeah, which is why I usually ask sometimes. You know, it sounds like a benign question. You know, why are you here? Not because I want to mind your business, or you know, I'm not just curious. I'm actually looking for, you know, like if somebody was punched in the face before, using a mild example, they, especially if it was a male punching a female, they might be traumatized about it, and any contact to the face may trigger. You know, any recreation of a situation that they may have been in could trigger a strong emotion, right? Fortunately, I've never had it happen. And any student who came to me thus far, even if stuff had happened to them, they were over it enough not to.
Okay, so it wasn't fresh in the mind, because I know sometimes they say, okay, the body holds on to, you know, events and memories and stuff. And like you said, someone, you could have been in a situation, let's say a domestic situation. I've got slapped in my face, and then I come to you, and then you're teaching me this to condition me, and I get slapped in my face, and the next thing you know, I'm reliving this moment.
It doesn't even have to be make contact, right?
Right.
Because, let's say sometimes all it could be is that I pull my hand back, and my body language, especially if the person you're working with is being a good attacker, and I'm using good attacker in terms of the body language is real, you know, instead of, you know, coming and being like, okay, I slapped you. They're like that, and you know, they have the you know, the drawing back of the shoulder. Sometimes even that could trigger it. You don't have to get touched.
Right. Okay.
You know, because they're seeing it. You know, this is exactly how the guy slapped them.
So do you approach those clients differently? I know you said you personally, but are you trained to approach those clients differently?
Yeah. Well, what you have to do is, you know, like if you do think that, like, you have to be outright to them about it. Like, ask them, okay, you know, are you comfortable first of all doing something like this? If you know there was a situation or whatever, and you know, even if they decline, if they say no, they're not ready for that, let's do something else. You can do something. Right. When they get the confidence, they're more accustomed with, you know, other things, and they're like, okay, I can deal with this now. Then, and they're ready to try. Then you can try with them. Even then, you know, you have to be cautious, and you know, tell them, you know, you can expect, and what to expect. You know, of course, when you're building technical skill. We're not gonna be like, okay, we're doing defense against a slap and they get the attacker to come, and then, it's, okay. You start like, like this, and you realize, and what you get them to realize is that, okay, like, if your partner makes contact, it's that. And, they didn't die. So now they realize, okay, I made the mistake, they get the biofeedback. I say, okay, I got hit because I didn't go wrist to wrist with the block or whatever it is. And I say, okay, I need to fix that, and I know how to work on. Eventually, over time, and they get the confidence with it, then you can apply, as you spoke about, that pressure testing, the most important thing, pressure testing. Very important.
Yeah, I think if someone slaps me, I might slap them back.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. In Trinidad, is the Krav Maga available for us?
We have 3 locations as it stands right now. The head location is in Cunupia, right? It's on the main road itself, not too far from the traffic light for those who know that area. There's the south location, and then there is the north location, Port of Spain, where I teach. I'm instructor for Port of Spain at Rough House, St. James.
Okay. Is there anything in particular from what you have observed in your own personal life, from work, hearing other people's stories, that you would say is the number one thing that we should be doing for safety? Is there any particular thing that, like, number one?
Situational awareness. Always number one.
Okay.
Always number one. Don't let it happen.
All right.
And please, whether it's you decide to do Krav Maga or MMA or whatever, especially young men, don't go out there thinking you're Superman and invincible. And I would say, if it does come to violence, I only want to use violence to protect myself, my loved ones, whatever the case is, right? Some guy wants to be angry at me because I spilled his drink. So you want a new drink? No problem, drink. I'm not getting in a fight over stupidity, because either A, as I get hurt, or B, they want to lock me up. Either way, it's not good. So when you can avoid it, please avoid it. But if you have to use it, by all means, use it to the best of your ability. Do what you have to do, and then worry about everything else after.
Yeah. Actually, I think some of the crimes too are like, well, at least the stuff that I'm hearing, not just Trinidad but worldwide, people are, I don't know, they're just getting angry for the most simplest things. They're not just like, okay, someone cut you in front of the line and now it's just like a mental breakdown and, a threat. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know, there's some sort of craziness in the air, which also increases the crime.
I think a lot of people are just generally stressed.
Right.
Overall, and sometimes, I mean, it may or may not be of your concern. I mean, depends on how empathetic you are with people and their lives, but sometimes you just don't know what people are going through.
Right.
And why somebody might be acting out, and which is why, sometimes like a simple apology and not taking that any further could just, prevent anything unnecessary from happening.
Right.
Walk away if you can, because, we have social and asocial, antisocial violence, right? Social violence is just not worth it, which is what we were talking about. Social violence meaning, which I just mentioned, or you just mentioned, somebody cut you off in the line.
Right. Yeah.
We're disputing. It's kind of like a territorial dispute, so to speak. Antisocial activity is crime. Right? Or antisocial violence, where I come to.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess in Trinidad we say somebody who doesn't like to go out online is antisocial, and that'll be colloquial use of the word, but antisocial is so the psychopaths, the sociopaths, they have antisocial personality disorders. Yeah, and avoid that like the plague, but hey, if it comes, give them hell.
Do you think we should have a curfew?
No.
Hmm?
No.
No? You don't think that would help at all?
Um, here's the thing, right? We have a curfew for, let's say, 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
The bandits will just want to attack you for 2 months. When there's a curfew, guess what's going to happen? We're going to go back to
Right.
normal. You know, it's just a plaster on a sore. We need to deal with the intrinsic problems before anything changes.
Where can people reach you on social media?
Same link from our first interview. Well, you could just contact me via the IG. If they're interested, I could direct them to the KFG page and it's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, welcome.